Why do I call it as a paradigm continuity? Having been a student of development and also my experience coinciding with the decades of development that we have had, we often see various stages in which communication and media gets foregrounded within the development paradigm of that particular time. What are the defining paradigms of development as we understand, particularly in the framework of media? The paradigm that I'm talking about is the advocacy phase of media development, where many of the dimensions of modernization and development were brought into the fore to talk about the need for media and the classical notion of its multiplier potential, along with many other countries, particularly in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. We have seen subsequent discussions as to how media centricity has failed. Now, this is not to suggest that media did not grow. Media, in fact, grew exponentially in many countries, giving a lot of hope to the fact that here we have media and development should automatically flow. Did it happen? And if yes, how did it happen? If no, why it did not happen? Many of us in the development sector have lamented and commented on the structural limitations that were more important than just the information and the presence of media. So, when the SDG framework came about, Savas has already given the historical continuity from MDJ to SDG. I was looking at the framework document of SDG and the Indian context. One of the important annexures for the document is the theory of change. Now, this theory of change is slightly different from the theories that laid more stress on people and the need for informing them. This theory of change lays more importance on institutional dynamics. Nevertheless, one of the continuity aspects of theory of change is the subsuming of media as an effective partner in SDG. Now, what is happening is that we live in a fairly media enhanced and media access context. There might be many of you who still would argue and quibble about the digital divide and the last mile problem. I'm in agreement with you, but also feel that we have come a long way in looking at what has happened to our media. all of you look at the framing parameters, and if I were to take along as to where and how the theory of change and the SDG goals have potential for intersection but have not taken place. My overarching comment, which is a critique available in various forums, including national and international media, is where and how SDGs is present or not present at all in the media ecosystem of our country. We spent a lot of our time during the COVID agonizing over inconclusive uh, murder or suicide of a film actor. And if one calculates the time, the energy, the spectrum space, etc., I don't want to monetize them, you would realize that entire prime time evening discussions in newspapers were spent on something that probably is way beyond what we expect in terms of development. Now, if you look at the bigger picture here, SDGs and its realization, uh, for example, we are placed at 117th in the SDG index of the world. Why are we at 117? There are various blocks here which talks about the fact that inequities prevail. There is considerable amount of poaching of natural resources. There is lack of representation in terms of gender, etc., both by way of content and, as some of you have pointed out, by way of representation as well in the. Why do I call it paradigm? UN and many other agencies, not to put them in the dock, but academically, we have to recognize that any time a major intervention is needed, they always advocate and talk about the media. So, in the SDG framework, they launched what we call as the SDG Media Compact. Now, why do I bring this? Now, you will see here uh, there is an expectation, there is a target, and there is an advocacy and media. Hark back to diffusion studies, pro-development soap operas, missing link argument of Maitland, you will find many of these arguments built into the very same philosophy that we are talking about. Now, what happens in, they say news media can be an ally. Is unused media, can unused media be an ally? 400 plus news channels, and what is their agenda as of now? Now, you would be surprised that in the media compact of the 100 organizations, there is none from India, including our erstwhile development elephant called Doordarshan. Community radio is there, but even they do not yet formally talk about SDG. Maybe their work does touch upon some of the SDGs as well. Now, this is an international argument and an analysis which talks about how and whether SDGs figures at all in the media, and if it does, in what manner. Now, why do again I talk about paradigm? As of 2019, the World Bank and client governments developed once again a behavioral change paradigm wherein they talk about what the media can do to bring about a behavior change. That's the old paradigm and the critique of individual versus community, as in India requires a communitarian dimension, but the argument seems to be in favor of individuals. We can talk about it, but that is one something that we have to remember. Media and entertainment is another factor. This was, as of 2020, Abhijit Banerjee, the Nobel laureate, and the Secretary, Department of Culture, also talked about. Hark back to 1986, 87, when Simplementa Mera, soap operas, etc., were still advocated as effective channels of information then. Now it is edutainment. Now, what is happening is the World Bank says that Hollywood, Bollywood, and Nollywood, Nigeria, India, and probably the world, can be roped in to talk about development. Now, I have taken a media monitoring slide from the borders, Reporters Without Borders, and I have cut the slides into various phases. And when I was looking at paradigm, the first slide that I have cut, you will see it as develop media for awareness. I look at is the disappointment. The development is not the agenda, and entertainment is driving the media. Now, when I see it is seek media as alliance partners. Now, this slide is crucial because to me, it represents the continuity of a paradigm thing. Just for our awareness, I looked at post COVID-19 media, unfortunately, for various reasons, is on the low performing index of the economy today. But are we seeing a shift? If we are seeing a shift, why is the spread important? If at all we believe in paradigm and we want to seek them as partners, what is the media spread we have? What has happened is that the free lunch of advertising is not there. Media spread is there, but the paid subscription is the onus, is the parameter. So what is likely to happen is the spread and what John talked about, access is going to move into a paid model. Why do I pay for? Do I pay for entertainment? Do I pay for development? I do not know, but classically, always entertainment triumphs over development. Now, this is interesting. I was looking at September 2020 analysis of the diffusion theory applied to digital diffusion understanding. All the notions of early adopters, laggards, etc., are once again revisited with their characteristics. This is September 2020. You have the whole present economics as to what brings an idea to the screen. Now, who has to ally with somebody is a question of monetization and the incentive that the media has for development. We have an SDG index, the highest in the world, I think is about, John would correct me, is about 80 to 83. Our highest is in the range of 67, 68. We also find now, is there a correlation between the southern states, media saturation, and the red states? Red, please don't, no connotation of red here. The red coloration in the map, that's what I'm trying to say. And is there a less media saturation there? We do not know. We'll have to look into that. So I would kind of rest my case here to conclude by saying that SDG or development is not necessarily the factor, but where and how we can partner with media has been a contentious terrain all through. But the paradigm continues to argue that media, communication, awareness, motivation, and behavioral change are the dominant forms of bringing about change. Thank you very much.